What is going on, folks? I am Goat, and welcome back to Warframe. So back into the swing of things. Haha. Back into the swing of things with looking at these loadouts with their builds. Okay. So we're at Nova. I literally use Nova for one goddamn thing. One thing. Disruptions. And squad-based disruptions. Because if it's solo disruptions, I actually use... Typically, I use Nezha or Lavos, and I'll just use Arcane or Magus Lockdown to lock down the Demolists, and that's really all I care about. Survivability and stopping the Demolists, I can kill them. But when I'm in a squad, running a Slova build is very good. That's what I use Nova for. But I do have a Slova, and I do have a Speedva build. Here's the Slova build. Pretty straightforward. Power Drift is there, obviously, just to help boost it up a bit. Base Intensify, I mean, you basically just need to be plus 100% ability efficient or ability strength in order to, you know, really get the fuck after it. You just, the one thing that you need with Nova in either function is a metric fuck ton of duration. Because that's what Molecular Prime works off of, is duration. Yeah, pretty simple. Speedva build. Efficiency, range, still a shit ton of duration, less health, whatever. Like, do I even need Prime Vigor on there? No, I could probably just put Rolling Guard on there and be just fine. Put her down to like 300 and change for health. It really doesn't matter. Lightning Dash is just a space filler. I mean, 100 adrenaline is just because she's more than likely going to take damage to her health because of her health and shield. So it's one of those might as well get some energy out of that deal. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing groundbreaking with this. It's just very simple. This is unnecessary. This is kind of a your whatever the fuck you feel like putting there, build, you know, mod. Aside from that, pretty simple. Exceptionally low strength. Therefore, everything goes exceptionally fucking fast. Have a nice day. This is why I say don't use Roar around Nova. If they're running a speed build, because if you add, you know, 119% ability strength, that's going to slow everything down to a crawl. When you add that to 40%, it tends to piss them off a little. Just saying. Now, I do use the Quelor, which is the Railjack gun. A lot of people don't like this one. Again, like the Trumna, it's got some kick to it, and it has a very slow reload time, even with Primary Merciless on it. I mean, again, you can look, it's fucking 4 seconds. Okay. Now, I got a Riven for it, and I was very happy with the Riven for this. Status chance, base slash damage, and multi-shot. A triple positive. Love that one. I'm actually very surprised that this gun does not get more accolades than what it does. Because the Quelor is actually a pretty decent it's a pretty decent rifle. You know, it's a status-based rifle. So there is that. But it's a status-based rifle that has an alt fire that goes fucking boom. The alt fire is all crit based, which is why critical delays on here. But the alt fire is basically just this blasting boom. So yeah, I mean, it's a full auto, just plasma style machine gun. And if you alt-fire a motherfucker, you're going to blast them with 120% crit with this particular build, and they are not going to be very happy with you for doing so. So, just putting that out there. Quelor is a pretty good gun. Now, for the Demolist side of things, I actually thoroughly enjoy using the Sepulchrum, which is the pistol version of the Trumna. As a 4-forma build, this is focused solely, I mean fucking solely, on base damage. Just pure, unadulterated base damage. Because once you lock down, I mean, sometimes you're gonna have to lock them down with this motherfucker. As long as you build up the alt fire, you have the opportunity of targeting the Demolist with the rocket. And if you hit a Demolist with 114% crit with a 6.3 multiplier of 2,338 points, or at least hit an enemy nearby and then radial attack the bastard with 11,000 fucking points off that same critical, the Demolist's gonna die, or he's gonna be really fucked up. But you can usually just individually shoot the bastard with the son of a bitch and pretty much tears up most of your base star chart Demolists. very quickly. Like one to three shots and they're usually dead. I mean, I've had it to where my aim's really bad and it's like 5 or 6 shots, but I mean, you have a magazine of 90 and it's a semi-auto. You got plenty of time. Again, the big thing with the Sepulchrum a lot of people do not like is the reload time and the kick. And honestly, the kick, I could give a fuck about. The recoil, don't even care. Doesn't bother me in the least. It being a semi-auto, it's just kind of like shooting a fucking 357. Okay, there we go. Time to aim again. The reload time, stick secondary merciless on it, and again, just try to time your reloads around your alt fire, because it'll target, I think, up to 14 fucking enemies, and they die. And then the Ninkandi Prime, honestly, because I just think they're fucking fun. You know, very respectable 100.8% status, you know, so good status, respectable amount of crit, very good multiplier, just all around fun fucking nunchucks to play with. Vabin. Vabin is a very good frame with a very unfortunate problem. Okay? Like, Vabin fucking destroys maps. Okay? Especially from the base star chart standpoint of things. Vabin absolutely destroys maps. Vabin's biggest problem, though, is that although his although his function is very, very good, okay, it really is. His Bastille function is exceptionally good. His third ability, being the Photon Strike, is kind of like a bad joke because it's pure blast damage. So unless you're on the base star chart, you ain't killing shit with that. You're just gonna stagger the fuck out of everything around you. Like anything above like level 120, and they ain't gonna die from that. There's not. Now, his orbs can potentially be good. Vector Pad helps speed you up. Overdriver is pretty fucking good. Okay. Flechette orbs, pure puncture damage. Tether coils is the cool ones because they grab 2 enemies with this build and they apply slash damage while they're tethered. So I'm really not upset with that at all. And they last for a long ass fucking time. So although puncture damage isn't really very good against stuff, even if they have a damage reduction to them, if they're getting hit by every single flechette barb that's being thrown, it's 530 puncture per orb, and they last for over a fucking minute. So if they try to get anywhere close to you, they're going to get punctured to death, especially if they're stuck in the Bastille and can't try to dodge. And then the Tesla Nervos are actually pretty good just for general, you know, general enemy control, I should say, because they're basically just these little electro balls that just go and attach to the enemy's face and shock them and stagger them. That's just what they do. Now, the cool thing about Bastille is that if you do the repelling Bastille, you actually do build shields, which is cool. That is cool. I do like that. You can build shields with his repelling Bastille, or you can just suck enemies in and then just murder their ass while they're stuck in this vortex of death. That's the particular one I like to do, because you can basically create like a fucking neutron star by throwing like 12 of these bastards and blind everybody with it. Weapons of choice for him are the Kuvahek. Pretty straightforward. You know, status per projectile is mass, pretty much normal with a lot of shotguns in this game. You know, respectable crit, especially for a shotgun with a 4.4 multiplier. This thing is a base heat of how I farmed it, so it's a viral puncture. Heat slash an impact, but it's doing a 14.7 multi-shot for 17,736 base. Not mad at that. Definitely run vigilante supplies on this thing. Good combination to set up with. Okay, Tenocycron we've already gone over. War Sword. This one I find to be highly overrated. Personally, if I were you and you had your choice between the War Sword or the Paracesis, just use the fucking Paracesis. I have the War Sword on here because honestly, I don't use Vabin that much anymore. And it's not because I don't like him, it's just because I have every fucking frame in the game. And when it comes to what I have fun with, Vabin just isn't it. He's very much a lock down an area and murder motherfuckers kind of frame. And I like to kind of, you know, unless I'm Steel Essence farming, I like to really just kind of, you know, move around and kill enemies and blow shit up. I don't want to just stand still and keep throwing Bastilles and then shoot everything. So that's just my personal opinion. He is a very good frame, though. Do not get me twisted on that whatsoever. I think Vabin is an exceptionally good frame. Just not so much fitting to my playstyle anymore. Loki. Now, Loki, there are some hardcore Loki Prime fans out there, and I mean to tell you, there is a good reason behind it, because Loki Prime has a very good function of doing certain things. Like, he's a good hunter, like he's a good looter. As you see, I have Golden Instinct on here because Radial Disarm with the duration build is absolutely fucking stupid because the range sucks. And the radius of Golden Instinct is so fucking insanely large that even only having a 34% range, as you see, it's still 68 fucking meters. So, not mad at that at all, but Golden Instinct basically helps you go hunt down fucking rare items in the game, like it showed in the animation, Cephalon fragments, Iatan sculptures if they're there. If you're doing Syndicate missions, it's exceptionally good, because you don't even need loot radar, although I do have loot detector on there. But you don't even need loot radar per se, because you can literally just follow Golden Instinct and it will take you there. Have a nice day. But yeah, like, switch teleport with a squish frame like Loki. Switch teleport on the steel path is just asking for fucking trouble, unless you're trying to get across the map quickly and you're still invisible doing so. I mean, yes, you can do stealth attacks doing switch teleport, which is fine to a point if you jump into a crowd, but you better make sure your invisibility is really going. Invisibility, because I've got hushed invisibility, they literally cannot hear a goddamn thing that I'm doing, so it's all good in the hood with that one. And then decoy is literally useless in my opinion. I mean, sure, it's a thing to make enemies, hey, look over here, sleight of hand, don't be a magician. Now, Loki is good because his radial disarm function actually keeps enemies from being able to shoot you. Doesn't keep them from being able to melee you, but if you're invisible, it's going to give melee guys a hard time, especially if you drop a decoy, because they're going to go after the decoy and not you. So this is my duration build. This is specifically for looting. Okay, I do not use Loki for spies. I use Wukong. Then I have an Ambulance build. Now, what this means is this is specifically built, very, very, very specifically built for the Hades mission on the Steel Path. It's an extremely high efficiency build, okay? Very, like, what's funny is I don't even need to run. I just thought about that. Hold on. Let me fix this, because this is stupid. I've got a max streamline and fleeting expertise. That does no good. See, watch. 7-pointer doesn't change. And now, I should be able to at least put one more. Yep, one more. Okay, cool. More duration. Might as well. More duration's good. I mean, that gives my invisibility almost 30 seconds now. So anyway, the Ambulance is kind of a pain in the ass on the Steel Path because there's much more enemies. Now, if you've got a big time tank frame, then it's not going to be a big deal. But if you don't want to make it a huge hassle, all you have to do is worry about invisibility. And then occasionally casting, Wellspring with Zeneric to buff your energy as needed, but your invisibility only costs you 12.5 energy out of a 263 energy. Yeah. And if you do a couple more Forma, if you feel the need, you can do a Nerimon here, and it's not going to fuck with any other build. You can put Preparation up in here, so like you do here and here, so you'll get 6 points here, and then do a Zeneric up here, and you'll be able to put Preparation on there, which is very good because I got Preparation on the other two, so it wouldn't hurt a damn thing. What that does is that starts you out with max energy, so you don't have to worry about doing Zeneric or any of that other shit. You just fucking go. But basically, stay invisible, take the Rubico Prime, just pure crit Rubico Prime build, and when the Ambulance shows up, you shoot it in its crotch, knock the shield off, shoot it in its crotch again, take the Ambulance down, hack the damn thing, and then when all the drones come up, just stay invisible, and every time you become visible, go invisible again and immediately move, because they will shoot where they saw you. So as long as you move, you're fine. But this speeds up your casting speed, shuts you up, gives you more duration, gives you efficiency, loses duration, so on and so forth. I mean, the build's kind of, obvious. But it's very good for the Hades mission, especially running the Rubico Prime. And then the range build is specifically meant for the Steel Path hijack missions. Funny enough. because radial disarm literally disarms across a 53-meter range. Now the rooms, if I remember correctly, on the Grenier hijacks are, I think, 86 meters. The big hallway that the Fomorian Corps is going on the tram on, I think they're like 86 or 90 meters or some shit like that. So basically every time you go into the room, as soon as the door opens, you cast radial disarm. That doesn't disarm melee enemies, but it keeps the projectile-based enemies, the gun-based enemies, you immediately disarm them, so all they have left is melee, so they do minimal damage to the Fomorian Core. And when you run out of space, you go invisible, jump the fuck off, and then stand on the catwalk, regen your shields, and then jump right back on the Fomorian Core and keep riding that bitch. And as long as you don't kill the enemies, no more spawn with guns. So that's the whole thing. Don't kill enemies and just disarm them. Have a nice fucking day. That's my Loki build, not a spy frame. Can he be used for spies? Sure. Should he be? Not really. So the Cedo. Oh my fucking god, the Cedo. This gun is beautiful. It's status based on the glaive. Status based on the glaive, so it does a stagger plus whatever your built combination of elemental damage is, plus it does a base as far as the radial attack of the glaive, of the alt fire, and then it does a base slash and whatever your elemental damage is, which is awesome. It basically primes and damn near strips the fucking armor off of fucking enemies. It hits so fucking hard. And then it's crit based on the primary fire, so much like the Bubonico, you alt fire and then primary fire if needs be. This is a very, very good shotgun. Yeah, and especially with primary merciless, your reload time is increased, so it's only 1.7 seconds, plus you have double ammo max, which is always good. I got the Catch Moon on there and the Orthos Prime, so we've already gone over those. So into the next frame we go. Garuda. Garuda. She's a very good frame. Notice, no melee, because we want to use Garuda Prime Talons. Now, she did take a little bit of a hit with the Eximus rework. From the stagger effect from Seeking Talons, if I remember correctly. But aside from that, she's actually a pretty damn good frame. Now, this is... Bitch, really? I'm not trying to go through mods. I'm aimed all the way up here. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Now, this is the build that I actually went with. Now, I prefer this build, okay, on just kind of normal run-of-the-mill gameplay, but if you're really trying to stay the fuck alive and tear shit up, subsume out her Blood Altar, because the problem with Blood Altar is that it sticks you in a one fucking spot, okay? You're stuck in one area. Now, the problem with this build is that to get the kind of ability strength that you need, you've got to put something like Blind Rage on here, and that's not so good. Okay, definitely not so good, because you still need duration. Okay, so like if you do something like let's say Transient Fortitude, right? Now we're down to 128% duration, which is not so bueno. Still 25 seconds, but you're down to 223 ability strength, and especially going against Steel Path enemies, you got to be very careful with this. Okay, because you're running low health, low shields. So you're running Arcane Aegis for your shield recharge, which is good. Okay, and an Arcane Eruption for every single time you pick up a fucking energy orb, it knocks basically everything on the map on its ass for a moment, so it gives you time to get the fuck away from everything. And then Brief Respite to work hand in hand with Aegis and do its kind of thing, right? So you want really good range, you want good duration, and you want really good ability strength. Because you definitely want to do the slash procs and the bleed chance with enemies, and you definitely want the Dread Mirror to do everything it's meant to. Like, you want Bloodletting, and you want Seeking Talons, and you want Dread Mirror to all do their job, except Gloom will keep you alive. That is the one positive to this. So if you're going to change over and run Transient Fortitude and lower your duration, I would definitely recommend swapping out Arcane Eruption for Arcane Energize. Okay? Very specifically because at least you can help regen your energy rather than knocking everything on its butt, because Gloom is going to be constantly drawing off of your energy pool. So you're talking an additional 50 to cast, and then depending on how close the enemy is to you, it's going to be 0.59 to 5.88 energy. Okay? Just based on the range. So if they're further away, it costs more energy. If they're closer, it doesn't cost near as much. Okay? Yeah. So Gloom does help keep you alive, but if you're gonna put Transient Fortitude on there and lose your duration for the other abilities, then you probably want to go ahead and run Arcane Energize, because you are going to be casting, you know, abilities more. So like, since I just made that change and I do kind of like it, I'm going to do that, honestly. So, but this build also serves as a very good function. More health, you know, still a lot of enemy. You're still running sure-footed instead of prime sure-footed, but it's still a respectable amount of things that you can do. And you'll notice that Blood Altar is on here because this is more of a defensible setup here. But that's my Garuda build. You know, I've tested a few different ways, and that's just kind of what I played around with. Like I said, I don't run Gloom a lot, but when I do, it's usually because I'm building a squish frame and I need to be able to lifesteal off of shit, and Gloom is very good for lifestealing. So the Nagantaka Prime. I showed this when I did the walkthrough. This is basically the same goddamn build. I still haven't polarized to put Prime Shred on it because, honestly, I don't need to. I mean, let's be honest, I don't need to. The fire rate's not terrible. I mean, it's 4, but that's not atrociously bad. But it's a pure status, you know, crossbow with a really funky alt-fire blast. It's okay. It's not terrible. The Akimbo Arius we already covered. In the Garuda Prime Talons, I still haven't changed anything from this. So they are very high critical chance, very high status. I have seen some people run Vermilion Storm. Personally, I like Malicious Raptor. That's just my personal preference to playstyle, so it is what it is. Have a nice day. Nidus, very niche frame. Okay, very, very, very niche frame. Now, we've already gone over everything but the cost assist, so this should be fairly quick. Virulence. Okay, basically create larvae, suck enemies in, stomp virulence to create stacks. When you have enough stacks, you parasitic link to either an enemy, so they take the damage that you do, so you stay alive, or you link to a fucking ally, and they buff their ability strength, and linked enemies take all the damage from the that's inflicted on Nidus. So I mean, it's good to be linked to a squad member, but if you're trying to just stay alive, just link to a fucking, you know, an enemy and just let them take the beating. And with this particular build that I have on Nidus, it lasts 93 fucking seconds, so it's a good goddamn time. And then Ravenous is just another way for mutation stacks. You know, it only costs 3 mutation stacks with the build, lasts for 62 seconds, and regen rate of 37. And yes, it does do damage, but it's blast damage. Little maggots get on them, blow the fuck up, and that's that. So here's my Nidus build. Very simple. Abundant mutation. Nidus gains an additional 200 max stacks of mutation, and Undying has 30-second cooldown. Very simple. Pure growing power build just to help increase ability strength as needed. Pretty straightforward build. You know, it's 3 forma, very functional. Just is what it is. Like, if anything, again, with because I haven't played Nidus in a minute, you can run Augmented instead and just help increase your ability strength that much more over running Arcane Guardian, because Arcane Guardian is just a percentage to get more armor for a short period of time. Proboscis Cernos we already talked about. Verma Splicer we already talked about. Cost Assist. That's one you don't see very often, right? The Infested Dojo Scythe. Now, I got a Riven. Now, this is an interesting one. 72.2% additional combo count chance. That is not bad for a Scythe, because Scythes are a little weird about building up combo. 223.2% critical chance, and it's still only at 29.1. Weak. Plus 103.5% critical damage, which I don't mind so bad at being a status, so I'm not bad with that. And then minus 121.6 critical chance for slide attacks. I'm not sliding attack. I'm not doing slide attacks with a Scythe anyway, much less with Nidus. Didn't really care. So truthfully, the combo count chance and the critical damage are all I gave a shit about. that was literally one roll, and I was like, ah, fuck it, it's the cost assist, that'll work. Again, Nidus is more of a base star chart frame for me, and very, very niche, so it's just kind of whatever. Excalibur Umbra. Wannabe Prime. Running the Aeolac as a primer, Epitaph as a primer, Arm Spinoza as my melee stat stick, which does work. The Umbra Blade is set up literally the same. The only thing that is good about Umbra, some people will complain about this, personally I don't have a problem with it, is that you are stuck with 3 Umbra Forma. That's okay, they build off of each other. So you have better ability strength, you have better armor, and you have better health. Now, is there other things that you can do because of this? Abso-fucking-lutely there is, which is why I do understand why people complain about it. It's a valid complaint. There's a problem. As I said when we were talking about Excalibur, Umbra has an issue of when you go into your operator to do stuff, like, you know, go lock down a Demolist or you know, try to heal your Warframe. Umbra just takes off running and goes bonkers and starts attacking enemies. And the problem is because he is a living, breathing Warframe, unlike standard Warframes, he takes damage. So when he's at the point of lethal damage, if you transfer back into his ass before healing him, which you can only do that in a couple of ways, but if you transfer back into his ass without healing him, you're downed. Have a nice day. He's a bit of a problematic Warframe. He's fun because he is tankier than the base Excalibur, but personally I find that Excalibur Umbra is more of a pain in the ass. Banshee. This is a Gloomshy build. Gloomshy build. Because she is a very squishy frame and she has literally no goddamn survivability built into her kit. Running a Gloomshy build is actually preferable because you can stop the Eximus from casting their abilities and you can actually still lifesteal the Eximus. You can't they don't slow down, but you still actually affect them with lifesteal, so that's good. And honestly, the Soundquake 4th ability I think is absolutely fucking worthless in my opinion. Like, the rest of her kit is pretty good, you know, show weaknesses. You know, the Sonic Boom to knock motherfuckers on their ass is actually not so bad for the staggering effect, gives you more time to kill them. So I'm not upset with running a Gloomshy build, because especially if you're in a squad and you're doing, you know, like Steel Essence farming, oh, it's a good time. It's a good time. Everybody's moving at the speed of smell, so everybody's got all the time in the world to kill everything. And of course, growing power, all I have to do is just apply a status effect and I get more ability strength. Yeah, it's not so bad. Tenet Archiplasmar, Tenet Spirex, Broken War, we already know these. On to the next. Harlo. Again, very, very much a niche setup, and because I specifically run Harlo solely by myself, so solo, okay? This is my build. Seems kind of goofy, but this is my build. It works. It's nothing too fucking amazing, but it does work. Now, the problem with it is that one of Harlo, you know, Harlo sacrificing his shields for Thurible, you use Condemn to build your shields back up, but now Condemn doesn't do jack shit to Eximus. So if you turn in the wrong direction and try to hit Condemn on something, it's a bit of a problem. So you gotta be a little bit more, I'm sorry, Penance. Penance is the one where you sacrifice your shield. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, Thurible's the energy fill up and blah, blah, blah. And then here's your protection and retaliation and crit and blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I had them mixed up. Dude, it's 3:51 in the morning. Anyway, Harlo is a little bit more problematic because Condemn was kind of nerfed against the new Eximus, but because the Overguard has now been dropped on the new Eximus, it's nowhere near as bad as it seemed. Harlo's a very good squad frame, but personally, I find better ways to use other frames with the squad than boosting their abilities and me standing there just being a good team player. I like to go kill with everybody. So the Kuvichakar, the big flintlock fucking crit monster, there's my build. It works. It works exceptionally fucking well. That's the best I got for you. Yep, that's it. It's really fucking good. Kuva Twin Stebas, Reaper Prime, we already know it. And now we're into the list of problematic or aged frames. One of the two. Okay, that's where we're at with these frames. So Equinox is a potentially very good map controlling frame, but the problem with Equinox is that she suffers from unfortunate nerfs or unfortunate buffs to the game and no real buffs to her. Okay, now my preferential build for Equinox is this: a metric fuck ton of ability range or ability duration, a pretty damn good area of range, and a respectable amount of ability strength. Is there other ways to go about it? Yes. You can sacrifice a little ability strength for a little bit more map controlling. And every time you pick up an energy orb, you knock everybody on their butt just to damage them a little bit more. But I have found that personally, I only ever run Equinox on base star chart missions anyway, and this is more than enough to get the fucking job done. Okay, this 2-forma setup, and trust me when I tell you, this is more than enough to handle base star chart missions. You ain't gonna die very much with this build, I'll tell you that. Ignis Wraith, we've already gone over. Sepulchrum, we've already gone over. Nakana Prime, we've already gone over. Chroma. Man, dude, I have talked to Chroma mains so many times. See them running missions. I'm going to preface by saying I do not think that Chroma is a bad frame. I just think Chroma is an aged frame. Okay, Chroma specifically for effigy is really only good, in my personal opinion, for Prophet Taker these days. His elemental ward is just non-functional against any fucking Eximus with Overguard still up, so that's a problem. Although his elemental ward does give a lot of buffs. Okay, it really does. It gives a lot of buffs. Like heat, 640% increased health, 337 damage per second, plus a 10% status chance. Okay. Electricity, shield capacity is increased by 337%, status chance of 84%, damage multiplier of 33.7. Toxin, holster, reload, and status are all there. I mean, you can see the numbers. Okay. Vex armor is where it's at with this shit. Okay. Vex armor for me is the only playable way for me with Chroma. Okay, tank efficiency, tank range, just focus on Vex armor and keep that motherfucker casted. Yes, it costs a lot of fucking energy. It really does. But the moment your fucking health takes a goddamn hit, your weapon damage goes off the fucking scales. Okay, 926% base damage increase with a 1179% armor increase. This is a pure Vex armor build all day long. Okay. Now, as far as effigy, as long as you have effigy going while you're doing the Prophet Taker, tail end of the fight, you get a 60% credit increase. Or extra credit chance, I should say. So it's like, Chroma's just aged, man. He's just aged. So the Kuva Brak, that's my build for the Kuva Brak. Very simple, nothing insane. It's a good shotgun pistol. You know, primarily crit based. It's a good shotgun pistol. It's the best I got. There's the build. The Neferi. Now, I do like the Neferi on Chroma. A heat status based fucking set of daggers that do a fire breath weapon. Yeah, they're pretty good. They are pretty good compared to the polearm and the whip. At this point, I find that the Neferi is really actually the best after playing with them for quite a while. Yeah, they really are the best ones. Caliban. Now, why? First of all, somebody's gonna see this and be like, why in the hell is Valkyrie above or below Caliban? We'll get to that. Caliban is not in a good place. Okay, Caliban was released and not in a good place. They didn't even have to nerf him. They certainly didn't buff him. Caliban is just not in a good place. It's just not. Okay, first of all, his first ability, the stupid Razor Gyre, is a joke. I don't give a shit if you can move around nor cast a second ability, because the second ability is fucked. Okay? Basically, this is a condemned build for Caliban because it's literally the only way to keep this asshole alive. for any kind of extended period of time on the steel path, I can tell you that. And the reason being is this: these guys are supposed to help, you know, the lethal progeny sentients are supposed to help you rebuild your shields. You know, shields per second. Sure. Problem is they love to go off and fight enemies. When you're on the steel path, there's a lot of enemies for them to go off and fight. So they tend to just not do their fucking job. Period. The sentient wrath. I still say the max target cap on this is so dumb. And I don't mind it being duration based rather than range based, which is fine because its base range is more than good enough, but it reaches out and touches some motherfuckers based on your duration, which is great. But goddamn, when you're on the steel path and it only affects 36 enemies, that's like a third of the enemies that are running down a hallway at you, okay? Like when you're in a crowd, 36 enemies ain't shit on the steel path. So you need Condemn to help build your overshields back up because these motherfuckers ain't doing their job. So literally the only good ability that Caliban actually has in his kit is Fusion Strike, which, yes, it's 100% armor strip. Unfortunately, it's pure blast damage. Yes, will it kill fodder enemies? Sure. Will it kill tankier enemies? No, it'll knock them on their butts. They'll stand back up and start shooting at you. Bit of a problem. It's got really good range, it's got a good radius, it's got a good duration, and it's got a hell of a good armor strip. But that's his only good, really standout quality. The fact that you cannot stack adaptation onto him because he's got a passive 50% adaptation instead of a 90% adaptation that the mod can give you, and they won't stack together, I find to be horribly problematic and stupid. Because if you could put adaptation on him, my god, would his survivability go up so much better. So the Phantasma. This is the thing that should be illegal. The Phantasma should literally just be illegal. This gun is just brutally wrong. Yeah, everything by stats says, it's all right. This thing is a murderous son of a bitch. It's an angry blob beam shotgun thing that just kills everything that you shoot at. Revenant's primary weapon, but my fucking god, this thing is just good. Very good. Catabolist we've already gone over. Inodim we went over in a more recent video. Build has not changed. For Forma based around the evolutions. Have a nice day. Valkyrie. Now, aside from going up against the Acolyte violence, Valkyrie is an extremely good frame. She just don't fucking die. Okay? She just doesn't. So what you need from Valkyrie is two things: ability efficiency. Well, you need three things: ability efficiency, a shit ton of ability duration, a shit ton of, or at least a decent amount of ability strength, and you need at least 130% ability efficiency so you don't run the fuck out, because that will be a problem with Valkyrie because she's damage immune in her fourth ability. So running even just a base, a base Hunter Adrenaline, if you do run out of energy, does help you regain energy. That's fine. Totally fine. Okay. She's got a good amount of health and a metric fuck ton of armor. But my personal opinion is she's just kind of boring. Cause like her sole fun function is hysteria. Like paralysis. Oh man, knockback. Damage multiplier. Okay. War cry. Armor increase, speed increase, decrease the percentage of the enemies. It's whatever. Hysteria is fun. Smite I actually put on there sheerly for the sole purposes of bum fights because it's fucking hilarious. I'm not joking. I literally put Smite on fucking Valkyrie just so I can throw orbs at enemies and cause them to start fighting each other and then jump in there with Hysteria and absolutely fuck them up. It's just fucking hilarious to do. Do you need to do that? Absolutely not. You do not. But it is fucking hilariously fun. But overall, she's just, to me, she's like, I like the vulnerability factor of frames being able to die, and unless you go up against violence, which chooses violence to come after any Warframe that likes using abilities, she just don't die. Go into her force. She's damage immune. Have a nice day. She's fun as hell. She destroys the fuck out of everything in her goddamn path, but considering there's basically one thing in the game, maybe two, that might cause you problems if you get hit by a parasitic Eximus, or if you run into violence and you don't, have your abilities knocked off. It's really hard to die with her. Now, Sevigoth. I'm going to tell you, first and foremost, I goofed when I polarized Sevigoth when I first got him, because they changed him up a little bit right after he released. So I ended up polarizing him wrong, so I have way more Forma into this frame than I should. So basically, the primary function of Sevigoth is to get him and then subsume him. So I farmed him, and then went and bought his blueprint from Samaris, and farmed him again and subsumed him to get Gloom. I don't play Sevigoth. He's just not that interesting to me. 8 Forma in this motherfucker, because I had yeah, that's actually one where I goofed. That was totally my fault. I was trying to do a different Forma, and I dropped an Umbra Forma on him, and it was like, oops, too late. Well, I guess I gotta use that. Yeah, I did an Aura Forma. I think I didn't have any Vazarin on him at all, which is what I had to fix, because I had Matarai and Naramon on him, so yeah. But as far as functional usage, this is a pretty damn functional, especially base star chart, very functional build. Okay, very functional build. Don't pay attention to the number, because that was me goofing up, but just look at the polarizations minus the Umbra Forma and go forth accordingly. It works. It just does. It's functional. It works. Sevigoth Shadow. Not appearance, stupid. Jesus Christ. Upgrade. Now, 4 Forma. Hadn't really done much with the Shadow, so I was able to fix this particular problem. This also works very well for Sevigoth Shadow. Biggest problem with Sevigoth Shadow is that you run out of fucking energy. Just like Sevigoth, you run out of fucking energy very quickly, so efficiency is a must with this motherfucker, but you don't want to sacrifice duration, so yeah, it's a bit of a problem. He's just got, his energy economy is horrible, but it's like first, second, third ability are basically the same goddamn thing, except for Embrace. That's like the only difference between Sevigoth and his Shadow, is that he's got Embrace. Consume is just like Reap. Death's Harvest is like, yeah, it's kind of like Gloom. Minus the lifesteal. It just is, it's no big thing. Like, I give a shit so little about him, I never even finished polarizing his claws, because this is more than enough for base star chart use. It's just the truth. I just don't find Sevigoth to be really great. So the Argonaut. Not a bad gun. It's not amazing, but again, considering the only time I ever use Sevigoth is literally on the goddamn base star chart, this is more than enough to handle that particular usage. It's 3 Forma, does a very good job at what it needs to do. So boom. You found a prime we already went over. Archititron, because I never fucking use it. But it works. High status hammer. It's kind of slow. Nobody really likes it, as you can tell by the Riven disposition, but it is what it is. So whatever. Yeah, Sevigoth's just okay. Like, some people are going to be like, what? No way! He's okay. It's just my opinion. Yoreli, she's just not good. Let's be honest. Yoreli, I mean, like, there's Yoreli mains out there that are going to just tell me I'm the Antichrist and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yoreli's not, she's just not very good. Like, here, look, I'll show you my build. It's not great. I mean, it's a shit ton of ability strength, decent amount of range, durations, whatever. It doesn't matter, okay? Here's the reason why. Sea snares. Look, you throw out crowd control things that don't work against Eximus, but they do minimalistic cold proc damage per second, but it's very minimalistic. Unless you're on a base star chart, it's very minimalistic. Merlina is clunky. You cannot mod it. And yeah, sure, it gives you damage reduction, but you can only roll around using your pistol. So it's really weird to use on normal missions, and it's like, considering, like, if you could mod Merlina like a normal K drive, I would not have nearly as many bad things to say about Yoreli, but considering you cannot mod the Merlina, and all it really does for you is have a fuck ton of health and give you damage reduction while you're on it. Okay. But guess what? If you want to cast abilities, you gotta get the fuck off. Cast the ability and get back on Merlina again. So it's kind of dumb. Excuse me. Aqua Blades is okay, but it doesn't really scale with enemies as far as level. So yeah, you're applying slash procs, which therefore applies bleeds, and with a good enough range, like you're talking, you know, it's okay, pretty good fucking ring with mine. But you need a lot of damage to do a lot of slash damage, and it's just like you can't just stand there and get shot in the fucking face, because she's got, aside from Merlina, she has like literally no goddamn survivability. And then Riptide. Riptide is like the most counterintuitive ability in there. It's a metric fuck ton of base cold damage that they get hit with. The damage increase to per enemy is 50%, which is cool. And then there's another bit of damage, cold damage per second that's hitting. But the problem is it's this big fucking tidal wave that picks up enemies and then flings them all over the fucking map. So then you got to go chase them down and kill them. If it just threw them up to the ceiling or just kind of flopped them onto the ground right there, oh my fucking god, I would love it. Just suck them all into a spot and then throw them on the fucking ground. Cold proc the fuck out of them so they're all stuck in that one spot. That'd be great. But the fact that it literally spits them out like bubble gum just annoys the shit out of me. So the Alternox. Status-based rifle? Shotgun? Like, okay. Here, hold on, let me just, oh yeah, rifles right there. Yeah, like it looks like a shotgun, but it's a rifle. It's a full auto, status-based, electrical-based rifle that's like semi-crowd control, semi-not. It's just kind of semi-something. It's okay. It's not like a horrible weapon, but I just haven't found it to be insanely good. The Dex Furus, yeah, you're gonna laugh at that one. I have a Riven for it. For the Akimbo Furus. So I get critical damage, status chance, and minus reload time, which still only makes it a 1.5 second reload. Horrible Riven disposition, so of course I get max stats on this. 139.5% Dex Furus with a 7.2 multiplier. Considering I'm only running Yoreli on the base star chart, that's actually really good. Twin Basilisk is just kind of one of those, you know, if I want to just get over to somebody quickly, just rift strike and fucking melee the shit out of them and call it good. That's really all these are. Kind of a gimmick. Beyond this point, Geyer, as I said, poor Geyer, she immediately got nerfed. She came into existence, she was a queen, and then she sucked. She's not terrible, but the problem is they nerfed the bejesus out of Rotor Swell, and from that point on, it just kind of hurt everything. Like, sure, man, she's got good function, she really does. Her kit isn't terrible, but she has 0 survivability, which is a massive problem. So we just went over the Alternox. We just like, here's my build for Geyer. Like, this was built very much around just prior to them nerfing her. I had gotten one Forma in, I stopped playing for the night, I get back on, they nerfed her. I stopped working on her. This was actually working quite well before they nerfed her Rotor Swell. It is what it is. Well, whichever, I can't even remember which one it is now. The one that was fucking dropping lightning bolts. I mean, with the range of being 175 fucking percent with a duration of 155 and the strength being 179, it looked like a lightning storm all over the map, man. It was fucking awesome. And then the next day, it was like random singular bolt of lightning occasionally hitting enemies. It was like, fuck. But she has literally no built-in survivability at all. And she's solely built for building your crit and crowd control, which crowd control is about half useless. It's not dead, it's just half useless. So I think I actually forgot to go over the Culverin Crane, so here's my Culverin Crane build. Pure status. That's what it is. Just pure fucking status. That's the build. It works. It's not bad. It's really not bad. Again, you know, Geyer's only run on the base star chart for me, so it is what it is. And here's where we get into frames that I find have problems. So this video is going to go a little longer than I intended, but it is what it is because it's going to be very quick. Necros, he's really good for farming. Some people run him as a tank frame, and that's fine. If you love Necros, I'm happy for you. Be happy with yourself that you love Necros. He fucks with my eyes so bad because of his fourth ability. So literally he's a farm frame for me, but considering Korra is much better at farming in my opinion than he is, because I don't have to sacrifice a metric fuck ton of energy or health depending on how I do it. If I want to run an augment or not, I just prefer running Korra. Necros's big thing is literally like all of his abilities cast at half the speed of fucking smell, and you got a bunch of ghosts running around trying to protect you, and then they eventually die, and then you can loot and all sorts of shit. So it is what it is. Limbo has had the living bejesus nerfed out of him thanks to the Xmas rework, so he's basically semi-useless at this point. So, yeah. Like, now he can be hit while he's in the rift. They can now shoot through his fucking abilities. And considering you literally have to build Limbo as a squish frame to make his abilities highly functional, he's basically just a sitting duck. Grendel. Let's see, is there any weapons like the Strativar and the Synex or whatever? It's the same weapon setup as Loki, so no need to go over those weapons. So Grendel. Look, man. Grendel has one good ability, and it's Nourish. Okay, let's just be honest. Nourish. Energy multiplier, applying toxin damage, and applying a damage multiplier. That's what Nourish does. Plus it gives a base toxin. That's just what it does. Feast, you eat enemies. Regurgitate, as you would think, you puke enemies. Pulverize, you turn into a giant ball of shit that can't seem to do a goddamn thing and basically go bowling for enemies. It's pretty fucking stupid. Sorry, Grendel is just dumb. The Batacore, it's okay. You know, decent critical weapon. You know, base magnetic, so it's good against Corpus. That's about it. I mean, nothing amazing, just that's what it is. Kuva Shield Egg is because I really don't like hammers so much. This is my Shield Egg build. It's nothing amazing whatsoever, but it does the job. So there you go. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like, you know, meh about this, but the truth of it is like as I get lower in the list, these frames just hurt my head. Trinity. Aside from feeding energy, okay, Trinity is just outshined by Wisp 1,000 times over. Because Wisp is just better at squad support, in my opinion, than Trinity is. It's just my personal opinion. I think when Wisp came out, Trinity's functionality became way less relevant, aside from feeding energy. Now, if you're feeding energy, sure, Trinity definitely has a function, but as far as feeding health, Wisp just smokes her. Now, Ivara, I have seen people on Steel Path missions absolutely nuke shit with Ivara, so do not get it twisted when I say that Ivara is a bad frame, because I don't think she is. I just don't like her. Okay? I don't. She is just entirely too grindy for me to fucking play. She's just an annoying Warframe for me, and it is what it is. She's just not my style. I have no problem admitting that. And considering what I've seen people do with Ivara, I get it. I get why people like Ivara. Just personally, I don't like her. And I think if people are using her for spy missions, you are literally taking 5 times longer to do the fucking mission than you need to, because Wukong can fly through just about any spy mission in 3 minutes or less. Well, 3.5 minutes or less. So let's just be honest. Ivara, if you're only using her for spies, just go to Wukong. Build a duration build, have a nice day. Hydroid, what used to be the creme de la creme of farming frames next to Necros, is now basically fucking useless. He's a base star chart frame at best. His Tempest Barrage is, I mean, come on. It's Acid Rain, have a nice day. And it's not even Acid Rain. It's just impact damage from big-ass water droplets. Tidal Surge. Knock enemies down. Have a nice day. You hit them with impact damage. Undertow is so fucking stupid. Okay, you literally suck enemies into the pool, but if you move away from where the enemies were, they come back out of it and they're alive most of the time. and you're literally just creeping around like a fucking dum-dum baby, and the more enemies that you grab, the more energy you lose. So it's such a useless ability. And then Tentacle Swarm with Pilfering Swarm, sure, you got 100% drop chance, but you literally need to corridor yourself into a fucking hallway to really utilize this best, because unless you're standing in the middle of the tentacles, you gonna die. Because Hydroid, unless you go into Undertow, literally has no goddamn survivability. Like Undertow, sure, man, you can stay alive. You really can, because they can't hurt you in Undertow. But he's just an aged old man. Sabaris Prime, though, not a bad weapon. You do need to understand it is a burst weapon, and it only has a 20-round magazine, and the overall magazine, or the overall ammo count, is low, but considering it's crit based, use vigilante supplies plus primary merciless, and it's actually a very good weapon if you are an accurate shooter. Piranha Prime. Now, I do have a Riven for it, but because, of course, it's a Riven disposition 1, it's nerfed like a motherfucker, which is what I hate about the Riven system. But it's still 80.8% multi-shot, plus 68.4% critical damage, -2 infested, which is what the fuck ever. It's a very powerful gun. Piranha Prime is OP as shit. It's definitely top 5. Nami Skyla Prime. This is one that I see a lot of people fucking hating on, and honestly, the Nami Skyla Prime are not bad. They're very fast, they're status based, you build them right, and they do a lot of fucking damage. But again, I only use them in the base star chart, so pretty much everything does a lot of damage, because it's like, what, max enemy levels like 85? And that's in the arenas only. Everything else is like max 45, unless you're trying to do an endurance run on the base star chart. Oberon, dated as fuck, and truthfully, aside from applying radiation procs and causing bum fights everywhere, again is outshined by Wisp for what his primary functions were to do. He's just old, played out, and unfortunately not very good. He is still very playable. I will say that. Oberon is absolutely fucking playable. His smite ability throws radiation and impact orbs at shit. Hollowed ground. Hey man, I grew a garden. You're going to be attacked with the radiation from said garden. Cool. Hey, look, I'm going to heal enemies by stomping my hoof. And in Reckoning, I'm going to pick you up and slam you into the fucking ground. And get some health from you. Now, Oberon's playable. I just think he's more playable in base star chart. So I've got the Zenith on there. Zenith is okay. It's not great. Like, you can tell I don't give a shit enough about it, because this build handles base star chart more than enough that I don't even need the Merciless Arcane. But the Zenith it's okay. It's pretty fucking good. The Azima, the baby pistol version of it. Again, no Arcane, because this handles base star chart more than enough, so it does its job. And then the Twin Croaker. Status based. Everything's all status based on this shit, I think. But Twin Croaker is actually a fun set of swords. Absolutely fun to play. Status based, very fun. Yeah, these are ones like, I don't even know why I have Jugulus Barbs on there. Why am I that stupid? Oh my god, yeah, I am that dumb. Why am I beefing up Toxin or Puncture? I mean, Jesus Christ. Let's beef up Impact, shall we? That's at least a little more functional. But yeah, Twin Croaker, very fun. Very fun. Then we get into probably my most hated frame. And truth be told, I would say it's probably a 50-50 split on, well, probably 60-40. Because I see a lot of Frost haters out there. Frost Prime. I think Frost Prime is just, he's just the punching bag of the game. Even with his augments, he's just the punching bag of the game. Now, is he unplayable? Absolutely not. No. I have, again, seen people on the Steel Path absolutely go fucking nuke crazy with this frame. I just hate his kit. And the problem is, I hate his kit so goddamn much that if I could subsume everything off and put what I wanted to on there just to make him more playable and survivable, I would. Because I don't like anything about his kit. I love his appearance. I think his appearance is actually really neat looking. But that's it. I mean, like, I just don't like him. I don't even think the Baza Prime's done, is it? No. I was still working on the Baza Prime. But Volta Prime we already talked about. Glade Prime we already talked about. Then, of course, I have a base mag and a base Volt. So at the end of the day, This is why my frames are set up what they are. These are my frames that I go to and I'm all about murdering shit with. And then these either have more of a specific function, or I just am bored with them, or they're just not my style at all. And it's sad to see poor Limbo down here, because Limbo still does have function. Okay, he absolutely does. The problem is that they nerfed him. They nerfed his ability to survive within his own abilities so much with the Xmas rework. So it's like you need some seriously OP fucking weapons. But the problem is like his biggest survivability thing was, hey, I'm going to pop into the rift. Nothing can touch me. Well, now the Xmas can hit him in the fucking rift. So it's like, well, what the fuck is the point? You can't hurt anything while you're in the rift, but they can hurt you. So you have to come out of the rift and get shot in the fucking face to take down the overguard. It's completely counterintuitive. I think they did Limbo really, really dirty. So it is what it is. So yeah. So that's where we're at, guys. So that's been all of my loadouts with their builds, at least the frames that I actually play, that I can give you good information on. So folks, I want to thank you very much for dealing with all of this, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right.